Hello, and welcome to Connect with Chris, where we catch up with distinguished alumni from the Quinnipiac University School of Communications. Joining us today is Richard Berry, class of 1989. Rich has had a distinguished career as a creative director, and he's done just about everything in the field of media. Rich, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So Rich, first of all, I want to talk about your current company that you have now. You're doing marketing around sports cars and sports racing. Tell me a little bit about that.
That's correct. My company, Speed Social, specializes in doing social media marketing for motorsports. And it's a passion of mine. It has been since I was a kid. I've always been either around race cars, driving race cars, or instructing people to drive faster, only on a race course, of course. And it's just been a lot of fun, and it was a long time coming. I think I was sort of meant to do this, but it took me a while to get here.
And what type of racing are we talking about here?
Well, I have done everything. I've done everything from drag racing to road courses. What I focus on now are teams or companies that are interested in promoting their business through the brand of motorsports. Anything to do with IMSA or NASCAR, Formula One or Indy. These are the sort of places that I really focus on. But anyone that's driving on a race course anywhere that needs help in promoting themselves, I'm the guy.
Gotcha. So for those of you who don't know, Rich had a very long and distinguished career with Nickelodeon and Viacom, excuse me. Rich, how did you get to Nickelodeon?
Basically, I graduated Quinnipiac, and within days of finishing school here, got a call from a friend who said that Nickelodeon was looking for someone to come in and be what's called a production clerk at that point, which is probably the lowest sort of entry level on the ladder of getting into television. I had recently come out of an internship with Howard Stern and didn't think that Howard was going to go anywhere. Might have made a mistake there, quite honestly. But the bottom line is that I took the job at Nickelodeon and I never looked back. It was really just the most fun you could possibly have in a career, and I was very, very happy to get that role, and just took it to the best. Did everything I could to work my way up the ladder at Nick.
So you were involved with some pretty famous shows at Nickelodeon. How did that happen?
Well, my career was very varied at Nickelodeon. I'll be honest. The first 10 years were focused on promotion. I worked my way up the ladder like we talked about, becoming a PA, then an associate producer, then a producer, then a senior producer, et cetera, et cetera. And that was all through just promoting shows. So they gave me a show, it was coming out, we need you to do a promotional campaign for it. And I wrote and directed and produced all the spots. So Clarissa Explains It All, Guts, SpongeBob, Dora the Explorer, you name it, there was a show that they were putting out, I was promoting it. That was my first 10 years there of really focused on promotion. And then I moved into live TV, which was a whole different animal. And I can't say enough about it. It was just such an amazing experience to be able to be live every day on a network that was reaching 90+ million kids. It was an amazing time.
All right, I need the backstory about goo.
Well, the official term that we would use in the industry would be slime. We owned slime. I think Nickelodeon, I'm sure, still owns slime. And it was one of the brand's sort of iconic things. Slime was something that we used on the Kids' Choice Awards, and then later on a show that I created called Slime Time Live, where we slimed people every day. And really the goal was to either embarrass a parent or celebrate a celebrity. And it was always just a great moment when somebody got slimed, because there's just no way of getting out of it. You just get covered in this stuff, and it's a mess. And for me personally, working on a show that slimed people every day, there wasn't a day that went by that anybody on the crew didn't have, slime or whipped cream or something on them. So it was a busy show for the laundry folks.
And the color, the thing that I just remember watching these shows with my kids when they were growing up was just the color of it.
Yeah.
Was that ever a discussion as to
Oh,
what color
absolutely.
it would be?
Absolutely. The color of slime was discussed endlessly. Nickelodeon is a big company, it still is, and you can imagine, anything that's iconic like that, like slime, was discussed, weekly. And I was, for the last 5 years that I was there, I was known as the Chief Slime Officer, which is really an unofficial title, but I got to approve all the slime that was used anywhere at Nick. And that color had to be a certain green. We had obviously a list of ingredients that I can't talk about, but that green was a very important color to get right, and I'm happy to say that I can still make it to this day if I need to.
It's a very lime fluorescent green.
Yes, we would call it nuclear accident green, but something like that.
And ingredients, is this like locked up in a bank vault that like the Coca-Cola formula, or what's the situation here?
I'm sure that most parents today know that kids are making slime at home in any hundreds of ways of making slime. The official Nick slime, I'm afraid, is a very protected set of ingredients, so I can't talk about it publicly, but it wouldn't be hard to make at home. And it generally, when we made it, for the folks on the shows, we made sure that it was edible, just because you never know if a kid's going to open their mouth or whatever, things like that, so we had to be very careful with it. So the mix we used for Nick, probably different than the folks make at home, but always made a mess.
And over your career, how many gallons of slime do you think that you produced or were in charge of?
Oh my goodness. I can tell you that we did about 1,300 Slime Time live shows. And you got to figure 5 to 6 people a day getting slimed on that. So that's just that math right there. Then I did a whole bunch of Kids' Choice Awards, and I was the international creative director for a lot of Kids' Choice Awards. It's somewhere up above 5,000 people. And I did have the Guinness Book of World Records record for sliming. That was 738 people at one time. So pretty good numbers.
And an individual slime, is that what, 20 gallons of slime, or?
It's actually smaller than you'd think. About 4 gallons was usually the trick that really just covered everybody. So
right.
Any more than that, and you don't want to go too high because it ends up hitting you pretty hard.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back with Richard Berry on Connect with Chris. Welcome back to Connect with Chris. Our guest this episode is Richard Berry, class of 1989. Richard, tell us the story about how you got to Quinnipiac.
Well, as many parents and students are doing in high schools, I was looking for the right place for me to go to school, and looked at a number of schools. And I can just tell you that I remember the moment distinctly getting onto the campus here at Quinnipiac and just being blown away by the beauty of it. I mean, just being next to the state park here is an amazing thing. But just, it was a very, very nice and welcoming campus. At that point, I was actually a business marketing major, which changed later once I joined WQAQ, because that was really the impetus that got me going towards wanting to do radio and television. And I just could not remember a time when I felt more welcomed. It was an amazing thing to just be at school for 3 or 4 days, walk up to the radio station, and then have a radio show within 5 or 6 days of arriving at school. It still, to this day, blows my mind that you guys let me on the radio 5 days a week.
What was the show that you were doing on WQAQ?
So I started out at WQAQ on Saturday mornings, which I guess was an open slot because everybody went out and partied Friday night. But then I eventually worked my way up to doing what's called Rich's Afternoon Happy Hour, which was the 3 to 5 slot on Thursdays and Fridays. And I had a soundtrack in the back that I played off a cart machine. I'm assuming those are still around somewhere. that would play sort of the sounds that you would hear in a restaurant or a bar. So tried to make it kind of an afternoon fun show that I did on the afternoons here, and I just have a lot of great memories from it.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And when did you switch from marketing over to communications?
I think it was when I struggled with my, I would say that the first reason I should say is really that the radio station got me going on it. That's what really got me thinking about it. The second thing that got me going on it was my struggling with math and algebra and trigonometry, and I found out that the liberal arts communications requirement was much less in that area, and so it was an easy decision for me at that point because I really loved what I was doing with radio, and QAQ really got me to my position with Howard Stern, so I was very happy to switch majors at that point.
All right. Rich, as you may be familiar with, we do a segment on Connect with Chris where we ask our guest a number of questions. It's an either-or type situation. We're going to ask you to answer the question, and then I may ask you to explain your answer.
Sure.
Are you ready?
I am.
Hamburgers or hot dogs?
Hamburgers for sure.
Why?
Oh, I think it's just, I don't have an answer for that. I think I just prefer them. That's it.
Okay. Mountains or beach?
Beach.
Why?
I grew up on the Jersey Shore, and it will always be a special memory for me, and it's just a place I prefer to be.
Okay. Spring or fall?
Fall. I think my birthday's in October. Feel free to send a gift, and I think it's always been my favorite time of year. It sort of feels like new beginnings in September and October.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, although it's an interesting explanation because I never drank it until my son was born, and that schedule it was the thing that put me onto drinking coffee for the rest of my life.
So one of our cameramen here is laughing because his wife is due to give birth tomorrow. And so he's
Coffee.
giving Rich the thumbs up.
Coffee.
Rich, what do you take in your coffee?
Because I'm being very careful about my diet these days, I'm on what's called a coconut creamer. I'm anti-dairy, but let's not have that conversation here. Let's just say cream.
All right. Dunkin' or Starbucks?
That's a tough call. I will do either, although I prefer Starbucks.
All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla, although got to have something else with it. By itself, it's a little plain, but I'm just not a chocolate guy. I'm the only person that probably says that.
All right. Drama or comedy?
Comedy.
As somebody from Nickelodeon, I'm not surprised. Favorite Nickelodeon show of all time that you were not the creator of?
Thank you. I am going to have to go with, it's an easy pick, but it's got to be SpongeBob, just because it was such a pleasure to work with the team on it, and it was such a great show and so beloved. So it's an easy SpongeBob.
All right, then I'm going to have to ask Squidward or Mr. Krabs?
Oh, Mr. Krabs is my favorite. Yes, I've had a, believe it or not, I'll condense this story into 10 seconds. I had a race car that we themed for SpongeBob, and we had Mr. Krabs on the hood.
That's very cool. What kind of car was that?
We raced a BMW for a number of years in a series called the 24 Hours of Lemons, which is an entirely different story, but you were able to theme the car in whatever you wanted to, and we chose SpongeBob.
Very nice.
Yes.
Do you take a pickle on your Krabby Patty?
I absolutely would. If they ever release the recipe, you'll let me know, but yes, I absolutely would.
All right. Windows or Mac?
I'm a Mac guy, always have been.
All right. We're going to get to some controversial ones here. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
That's the only choice.
Yeah, apparently.
We're now 2 for 2. Red Sox or Yankees?
Oh, where's the exit? You have to understand, one of my college roommates was Turk Wendell, who played for the Mets for many, many years, obviously a Quinnipiac graduate, and we spent a lot of time battling the Yankees, and so I'm a personal Yankees fan from way back when.
All right.
Yeah.
What is Turk doing now?
Turk, I believe, has a hunting lodge. I get texts from him every couple of weeks, and he's got a hunting situation out in Iowa. Never been a hunter. He hasn't invited me. That's okay, but we still keep in touch a couple of times a year.
All right. Serious question.
Sure.
NASCAR or Formula One?
Well, I have a lot of good friends who work in NASCAR, so I'm going to have to go in that direction. I really enjoy the sport, and they've really come back in an amazing way during this pandemic, so I've got to give it up to the NASCAR guys.
All right. Lewis Hamilton or Valerie Bottas?
Well, Lewis would be an easy choice, wouldn't it? I feel like I've got to give it up to him. He's really an amazing driver, and to stay on top this long is an accomplishment.
Greatest Formula One driver of all time. If you could only pick one to win one race, who would it be? Formula One.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, there are those who would say that Mario Andretti would be the easy choice, obviously being a Formula One champion, but Mario's also won a NASCAR races, IndyCar races. I got to say Mario. Mario's the guy.
Okay. Porsche, Ferrari?
Easy choice for me. I'm an instructor at the Porsche Club, and I instruct a lot of good folks who want to drive faster in Porsches, so I'm going to have to go Porsche.
Fair enough. Elkhart Lake or you pick, racetrack?
Well,
How about Elkhart Lake or Lime Rock?
I'm going to say Lime Rock because it's a beautiful area. It's here in Connecticut.
It is a beautiful area.
Can't fault that.
Yeah.
Elkhart Lake is fantastic. Lime Rock.
Yeah. All right. All right. I would like to thank our guest, Richard Berry, for joining us today on Connect with Chris. Please be sure to turn into our podcast, Uncommon Grounds, where we interview students from the School of Communications. Rich, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.